This one is going to be a little bit tricky for me to get rolling because I'm feeling a little bit anxious about it because of the content, what I'm going to share, and but I think it's important that we face it and look at it and see what we can glean from it. So what it is about is over 25 years ago, I became friends with a woman who was a victim of Satanism. Full-blown victim her entire life, groomed to be a high priestess. I helped her get into the hospital because her programming to suicide was triggered, and for 2 years, but she ended up dying. She ended up not making it. Now, the first and foremost thing I want to stress is once it was discovered that this was what the issue was, I talked with her, and there's a scripture in Revelation that said a congregation of the time, they were commended because they did not get to know the deep things of Satan. And this is what I said to her. I told her I did not need to know the details. I did not want to know the details. I made the decision to not be curious about their rituals and their magic and everything they did. Inevitably, of course, I would find out things that had happened to her, but this is the important thing. Do not be interested. Do not be drawn through your curiosity to their dark arts. We don't need to know. Each of you will understand for yourself what I'm talking about, okay? There were people that knew her that became curious and literally had nervous breakdowns and today are still in the psych ward. And I'm not making this up. Okay. So now, to a degree, we know about these hideous activities that they do. Okay. That's not getting to know the deep things, okay? That's not getting to know them. But it's important for us to look at a particular activity, and it's the sacrificing of children, the most innocent. And we know that this was what was happening in the history when Israel was going to take the land of Canaan, because the iniquity of those people had sunk so low, they were doing the same thing, sacrificing their children. Okay, and so I made earlier videos about how I believe this is happening in a physical way through science using the aborted, a fetus. So we're at that again. Okay. But how is it connected to the birth of the early church and the emergence now of the global awakened congregation of believers? How is this relevant? Well, when we look at the account in Acts of when, right before that, the big miracle started to happen, okay, because Jesus had died and they now were, alone, you could say. So then first of all, they returned to Jerusalem, okay? And when they entered the city, they went up to the upper room where they were staying. And again, we're promised this invitation to enter this spiritual city. And it says they went to the upper room where they were staying. So is that a reference to this elevated state that we are all beginning to go up in, Because when they went up there, what did they do in this elevated room? Okay, it says, these all with one mind were continually devoting themselves to prayer along with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and his brother. So there's no exclusion. Everyone was equally involved, men and women, all in this upper room, and they were with one mind. So there's this uniting essence, a fundamental platform that they were all agreeing on, which was rooted in the sacredness of life and the beauty of life. Okay, so then what happens is this event just happened, it said, when the day of Pentecost had come. They were all together in one place. Okay, Pentecost, Penta. Okay, the Satanists, we know they use this star, the five-pointed star. Well, look at United States. They have what? The Pentagon. And it's what? It's the shape. It's 5 stars shape. And it's the military base, the force. This can't be a coincidence because the Satanists know these patterns too. And it's inverted. So they're trying to physically manifest in the reality plane these symbols. It's like mirror opposite. It's always these mirror opposites, okay? So this is something for us to really think about. So we are also again coming together in one place. Now this one place is also referred to in Revelation when the frogs with the propaganda, which I linked to Twitter, go back and look at that one, also had the effect of gathering all the nations into this one place. So it's like a focal point. It's the one place is the point in time where the paradigm shift can happen or the baby can be born. Okay, so why is this relevant? It has to do with the sacrificing of the infants, because the physical sacrificing of the infants is a metaphor for killing the body of believers or humanity emerging. Okay, the emergence of the new paradigm, the emergence of the new way of being, the emergence, the birth. That's what it's all about. That's what it's about. And each of us emerge. Okay, so there's an emergence at a personal level. Like when you could say, realize that we're part of this whole, which is Jesus is the symbol of, because he went through it, he did it, he was transformed, and then we are like a cell in that body because that body represents the transformation, the change. Okay, and so what they have been doing, what the Satanists have been doing all through history, is they've been trying to kill the child of God. They've been, the point in time they strike is when the highest level of vulnerability. The highest level of vulnerability, okay? But the women had the ability to hide their child, because remember what happened in Israel when they were in Egypt and Pharaoh wanted to kill the babies? The midwives wouldn't do it, and the women started to hide their infants. We are the infant. We are the believer, okay? We are hiding inside the system. Okay, well, we have been hiding inside the system. And even the secret societies, again, it's trying to mirror this. But that's the dark mirror. It's not the light mirror, okay? It's because this, in the light, is the true organic occurrence, the genuine, real transformation of the physical world via the indwelling of the Spirit and what is on the inside shining to the outside. Okay, and the birthing of this baby, which is ourself, okay, our own metamorphosis, and then all the people that we are united with in a larger whole, in this united mind, okay, is the larger baby, because the kingdom is described as this birthing time, a birthing time. And so what I want to stress, I really, really believe we can glean from the dark agenda, okay? Because our enemies know all of these promises, okay? So when it was time for the early church to emerge, what happened? They were gathering together. Okay, so what's happening to us? We're being told we can't gather together. They had traveled a day's journey to get to the city. Are we allowed to travel? No, travel's all restricted, all impeded, all slowed down. Yet we have an incredible desire, do we not, to gather together? I sure do, man. If I could meet you guys, I would meet you guys. I think the Spirit wants to bust through in an unprecedented way. It's quite exciting. Even makes me want to cry. I feel it. Okay, so the gathering together being restricted. How did the early church meet? They met in homes, in their homes. They gathered together. What? We're being told we're not allowed to do that. Then what else happened in the early church? They started to speak the language of everyone around them. Speak the message, tell the story, not how we want to tell the story, but tell the story in a way that the people can hear and understand. Because we're not trying to force people to, we're not trying to force anyone. We want to share something beautiful. Draw through love, the power of love. Okay? Then the next thing that happened in the early church is the laying on of the hands. The miraculous healing power that began to happen, which I believe is connected to the Holy Spirit, which is also called Kundalini. It has many different names, Chi, and all of these things. It's all the same thing. It's the life force that is conducted miraculously through this body, which I even said maybe is fusion. But anyways, okay, so then they're having us what again? They want our faces muffled, so we won't visit and talk too much. And then they want us to be distanced, so we can't lay on the hands. Okay, so the fact that they're implementing all of these things, and like I said, remember even the city of Jericho, it was locked down tight. No one went in, no one went out. Again, the reference in the Gospels, you know, when you see encamped armies and they're hemming you in on every side. Okay, but it's because they also know the patterns. So if anything, this should fortify us that our enemy knows this pattern. They know this is the emergence. Now, what's important in Revelation, it speaks about the woman giving birth to a child. And the devil was there, and he wanted to eat up her baby, but they were rescued and hidden in the wilderness. That's us. That's us. That's us. Okay? The two witnesses, when it was time to go across into Jericho, they were hid in the harlot's house. They went into the house of a harlot and they were hidden in her. That's us. We have been born into the system, in these institutions. We've been hidden inside. Just like they try to have, spies infiltrating, okay? But we've been born into the system, and we've been hidden by the system. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. It's so our mother, the great mother, it's time to protect our babies, hide our babies. Remember how Moses was hidden in the basket on the water? Okay? Jesus too, the same thing. When he was born, they tried to kill all the babies. Okay? And this is what the Satanists do, but it's a metaphor for the spiritual emergence, and we're at the most vulnerable time. But we have each other, and we know the promise. And we can be confident that we have a loving Father and a loving Mother that will protect us. That we can trust, even in our most vulnerable time right now. We can do this. We can do this. Let's not be afraid. Let's trust. You can tell this is close to my heart on this one. Yeah. Thank you, friends.